Have you ever wondered what really happens in the shadows during Halloween? In today's episode of Shadow Explorer, we're going to uncover 5 Halloween stories that defy logic and plunge into the abyss of true terror. Imagine walking through silent streets, where every corner hides macabre secrets and every treat might conceal a nightmare. Today, we'll start on an unforgettable Halloween night, where a simple game of trick or treat transforms into a terrifying experience for an innocent child. Are you ready to follow Raven Shadowmare, your guide through the darkness, as we explore events that challenge reason and touch on our deepest human fears? Before we delve into these chilling tales, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the Midnight Mysteries channel, and activate the notification bell. After all, who hasn't wanted to know what really lurks behind Halloween stories? With a touch of irony, I'd say these stories prove that true terror isn't just in the costumes and decorations, but in the realities many prefer to ignore. So, Shadow Explorers, are you ready to discover what truly happens when darkness falls and the Halloween lights shine brightly? Story 1. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, something frightening happened during Halloween. Unlike the usual tradition where my mom always took us out for candy, that year she left me at my friend Sean's house. The idea was that I would go trick-or-treating with him and our friend Johnny, who were both a year older than me. Sean's family situation was peculiar. He lived with his sister, who was in her 20s, a significant age gap. The house always smelled like cats, and his sister often had different guys over. She was never very welcoming to me, rarely acknowledging my presence. Sean's dad wasn't around, and his mom worked in another city. When I got there, I found out that no adult would be supervising us, something my mom definitely wouldn't approve of. Even though I was a bit apprehensive, I felt a thrill at the freedom we would have. We set out with our trick-or-treat bags, and when people asked about our parents, Johnny lied, saying they were just ahead. After a few hours of collecting candy, we took a break at Sean's house to eat frozen pizza and watch Halloween shows. Johnny went to get more candy with his mom, but Sean and I decided to continue on our own, already past 8 p.m. Then we noticed a man pushing a stroller a few houses behind us. He approached, humming softly, and offered us more candy, saying he was heading home with his daughter, who was asleep in the covered stroller. We followed the man, who asked us questions about our school and neighborhood as we walked. When we arrived at his house, he went in first with the stroller and invited us to come inside. I asked to keep the door open. When the man supposedly went to get the candy, Sean peeked into the stroller and was disturbed. We ran out immediately. A neighbor saw us and asked if we knew the man. Sean revealed that there was a doll in the stroller, not a real baby. The woman drove us home and explained everything to my parents, who called the police. They never told me what happened in the end, probably to protect me. My mom forbade me from going to Sean's house again, and our friendship was never the same after that terrifying incident. Story 2. It was Halloween 2016, a Monday, and I was in charge of handing out candy at home. My mom always bought way too much candy, and our house, located in a cul-de-sac, usually received few visitors. As a college student, I had Mondays and Wednesdays off. I spent the first part of the day at the gym and doing schoolwork. Between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., we got only about 10 to 15 groups of kids, with my dog Vato barking at every ring of the doorbell. After the visit slowed down, I went to my room to watch Game of Thrones. Around 9:30 p.m., the doorbell rang unexpectedly. When I opened the door, I saw a very tall man dressed as a clown, wearing a scary mask. Through the screen door, he pointed to a nearly empty brown bag he was carrying. I told him we didn't have any more candy and quickly shut the door. The man rang the doorbell again. I went upstairs with Vato, a small terrier who was not intimidating at all, and turned off the lights. Suddenly, I heard a loud bang. The screen door was being forced. I tried to contact my family via our WhatsApp group and called my brother, who downplayed the situation, saying it was just a Halloween prank. When things seemed to calm down, I tried to sleep. I was awakened by Veto's low growls as he stared intently at the window. I heard soft sounds coming from outside, something impossible since my room was on the second floor. When I opened the blinds, I came face to face with that same horrifying clown mask staring back at me through the glass. I screamed and ran to my parents' room, where I locked myself in and called the police. When they arrived about 10 minutes later, they found the screen door damaged and, more frighteningly, my dad's ladder had been taken from the external storage and used to reach my window. I ended up sleeping over at my friend Adam's house that night. To this day, I still don't know if it was just a sick prank or if something much worse was about to happen that Halloween night. Story 3. It was late October, a Saturday before Halloween. My friends and I were searching for a last-minute party since all the events were packed. Kate, one of my friends, decided to post on Instagram and Snapchat asking about parties, something I would never do because I found it embarrassing. Surprisingly, she quickly received information about a party. The invitation included the address, time, and some basic rules. The party would only be indoors, no access to the backyard. Everyone had to bring their own drinks, and for every guy, there should be at least one girl. The contact came through an acquaintance who supposedly knew several people in common. We arrived at the house, which was large and had several cars parked in front. The interior lighting was dim, with orange lights creating a Halloween atmosphere. Soon, we were greeted by an older man who introduced himself as John, Luke's father, the supposed organizer of the party. He appeared to be in his 50s and was oddly involved in the festivities, particularly interacting with the girls. John offered to store our drinks in coolers in the kitchen and began serving us drinks. He specifically called me and Kate over for shots, later including our other friends, Shauna and Tracy. He kept serving us drinks throughout the night. At one point, everything became hazy. I vaguely remember talking to our friend Jeff, and then I only recall waking up in the car in front of my house. The next morning, I discovered disturbing messages from John on my phone, including texts saying he was coming to my house at 2 a.m. When I shared this with my friends, they told me what had happened. They had pulled me out of the party when they noticed I was in a zombie state, and on the way out, they realized the house was completely empty. When we investigated, we found out that the phone number was fake and that the house was actually vacant. We went to the police, who confirmed that the house was indeed unoccupied and that there had been complaints about the party. Apparently, this man had organized a fake event in an empty house, likely to gain access to young women and spike their drinks. The most frightening part is that even a month later, no arrests have been made and the criminal remains at large. Story 4. The House of 666 Pumpkins. In the quiet neighborhood of Pine Grove, October 2022 began differently. An old Victorian mansion, abandoned for years, was suddenly occupied by a new resident. Martin Walsh, a man in his 40s, arrived without fanfare, but quickly caught the attention of the neighbors with his peculiar Halloween decorations. It all started when Walsh began decorating 3 weeks before Halloween. Each day, new pumpkins appeared in his yard, each meticulously carved with different faces and illuminated by a color-changing LED light. The local residents were fascinated by the spectacle, which grew larger each day. Sarah Thompson, a 12-year-old girl living next door, was the first to notice something strange. She kept a diary where she noted the number of pumpkins added each day and realized a disturbing pattern. The number of pumpkins corresponded exactly to the number of children who had gone missing during Halloween over the last 3 decades in various states. The pumpkins had something unique about them. Each carved face seemed to tell a different story. Some smiled, others cried, and some appeared to scream silently. Walsh spent hours taking care of them, whispering words that no one could understand. Things took a sinister turn when Emily Parker, an 8-year-old girl, mentioned to her mother that one of the pumpkins had the same smile as her cousin, who disappeared 5 years ago during Halloween in another state. Her innocent comment triggered a series of disturbing discoveries. Residents began to notice that Walsh only appeared at night, always dressed in a black overcoat and carrying a new pumpkin. During the day, the curtains in his house remained closed, but strange lights could be seen through the cracks. As Halloween approached, the neighborhood children became increasingly mesmerized by the display. Walsh announced he would host a special Halloween party, promising unique treats and prizes for the best costumes. The investigation began when Detective James Morrison, recently transferred to the town, recognized the pattern of the pumpkins. Each represented a missing child, and the carved faces were based on the last known photos of the victims. The most chilling discovery was that Walsh didn't exist. The man had assumed the identity of his first victim, a boy who disappeared 30 years ago. In his basement, police found a detailed diary documenting each disappearance, along with molds of the faces of the children he used to carve the pumpkins. The most disturbing discovery was in the attic, a macabre workshop where he created the special pumpkins. Each contained a personal item from his victims, preserved inside the pumpkin through a chemical process he developed. Walsh was captured on the eve of Halloween. While preparing his next pumpkin, the police found a list with the names of children in the neighborhood who would be his next victims during the planned party. The case of the 666 pumpkins, as it became known, changed the way the town celebrated Halloween forever. Today, a small purple pumpkin is placed outside every house in the neighborhood in memory of the victims, and an elaborate system for verifying new residents has been implemented. Sarah Thompson, the girl who first noticed the pattern, now works for the FBI in the Serial Crimes Unit. She says she learned the hard way that sometimes the scariest monsters are not those dressed up for Halloween, but those hiding behind smiles and illuminated pumpkins. The pumpkins were preserved as evidence and are now part of a closed exhibition at the FBI Museum, serving as a reminder of how a killer transformed a joyful Halloween symbol into a macabre gallery of his victims. Story 5. In October 2023, the quiet suburb of Maple Heights became the scene of a series of disturbing events that began on Halloween night. What initially seemed like an isolated case of food poisoning soon revealed something much more sinister. It all began when 5 children were taken to the local hospital the morning after Halloween. All presented the same symptoms: dizziness, high fever, and hallucinations. The oddest part was that they had all visited different houses during the trick-or-treat night. Detective Rachel Martinez was assigned to the case when doctors confirmed that the children had been poisoned with a rare substance found only in specialized laboratories. What was most puzzling was why these 5 specific children. Analyzing the family's roots, Martinez discovered that the children did not know each other and attended different schools. Their paths had never crossed until that night. The only common point: they all wore purple identification wristbands distributed by the school as part of a safety program. The investigation took a darker turn when the team discovered that someone had hacked into the school registration system months prior. The intruder had access to crucial information: allergies, routines, and, most importantly, the color codes of the identification wristbands used by the schools. Martinez realized that the criminal had meticulously planned everything. The purple bracelets identified children with specific allergies, allowing him to calculate the exact dose of poison for each victim. He didn't want to kill. He wanted to cause controlled suffering. The twist came when a 6th child, Tommy Parker, 9 years old, began showing mild symptoms. Unlike the others, he wasn't wearing a purple bracelet. His father, Dr. James Parker, was a renowned chemist working in a pharmaceutical lab investigating Dr. Parker. The team discovered that he had lost his youngest son to a severe allergic reaction 3 years prior when the school failed to identify his allergy. Since then, He had developed a twisted obsession with the allergy identification system in schools. Dr. Parker's plan was to expose the flaws in the school safety system. He chose children with the same type of allergy as his deceased son, ensuring that the poison would cause frightening symptoms, but not be lethal. Tommy, his own son, had accidentally contaminated himself by grabbing a candy his father had prepared. The police found a complete lab in his basement, with detailed maps of Halloween routes, profiles of the children, and chemically modified candies. Each candy was personalized, based on medical information stolen from the schools. The most disturbing find was a diary, where Dr. Parker meticulously documented his plan, initiated 9 months earlier. He had volunteered for the school safety committee just to gain access to the bracelet system. The children fully recovered after a few weeks. But the case forever changed how schools handle students' medical information. The bracelet system was replaced with a more secure digital method, and new laws were created to protect children's medical data. Dr. Parker was arrested, but his case sparked a national debate about school safety and data protection. In his final statement to the court, he said, "Sometimes you have to create a monster to kill another monster." Today, Maple Heights has one of the most secure allergy identification systems in the country. Ironically, it took a terrible act to bring about positive change. The affected children were dubbed the Five of Halloween, and their stories are used in school safety training. Rachel Martinez now gives lectures about the case, warning how seemingly harmless information can be used in dangerous ways. She always ends with the same phrase: "On Halloween, it's not just the costumes that hide dark secrets." The case reminds us that sometimes the real terror isn't in poisoned candies, but in the disturbed motivations of people who turn personal tragedies into calculated vengeance. As the shadows dissipate and Halloween night comes to an end, we reflect on the stories we've just explored. Shadow Explorers. Each of these Halloween stories takes us to places where the real and the supernatural intertwine in disturbing ways, from unsettling encounters with mysterious figures to mysteries that defy logic. These narratives not only haunt us, but also make us question what we really know about the world around us. Think of the experiences of innocent children transformed by sinister events, like the incident at Sean's house or the menacing presence of the masked clown. These stories are not just horror tales for entertainment. They reflect deep fears and dark realities that we often prefer to ignore. And what about Martin Walsh's pumpkins or Dr. Parker's distorted intentions? Every detail, every symbol, every twist invites us to look beyond the surface and uncover the secrets lurking in the shadows. What truly unites us in these narratives is the exploration of the unknown and the relentless quest for answers. Raven Shadowmare, our tireless collector of mysteries, reminds us that there is always more than meets the eye. In every story, there are lessons to be learned about trust, vulnerability, and human nature. Perhaps, in the end, the true terror lies not just in supernatural events, but in the human motivations that drive them. Now, Shadow Explorers, I want to hear from you. Which of these stories resonated with you the most? Or perhaps you have your own experiences that align with these chilling narratives? Share your reflections in the comments below and join our community of mystery and horror enthusiasts. After all, every voice adds a new layer to our understanding of the darkness that surrounds us. And remember, as we unravel these stories, we are all in this journey together to comprehend the inexplicable. Don't underestimate the power of shadows, for they hold secrets that, once revealed, can change our perception of reality. These Halloween stories are more than mere tales of fear. They serve as reminders that the unknown is always lurking, ready to challenge our courage and sanity. Before we move on to the closing, I'd like to emphasize the importance of keeping this flame of curiosity alive. We will continue to explore the darkest and most intriguing corners in the upcoming narratives of Midnight Mysteries. So don't miss out on the opportunity to delve even deeper into these fascinating mysteries. If these stories ignited your curiosity and left you eager for more, brace yourself for what's to come. Soon, we will unveil even more secrets and enigmas that promise to elevate the suspense and terror. After all, where every story is a puzzle, and every puzzle a new opportunity to confront the unknown. If you felt a chill, intrigued, or simply curious to learn more about what happens on the darkest nights of the year, I invite you to continue this journey with us. Midnight Mysteries is always uncovering new secrets, exploring the mysteries that many prefer to keep hidden. Before we say goodbye, I want to sincerely thank you, Shadow Explorer, for joining me on this voyage through the most haunting Halloween stories. Your presence and participation are essential to keeping the flame of mystery and terror alive in our community. And ironically, as you prepare to face the next Halloween night, remember, not all stories have happy endings, and sometimes the real terror lies in continuing to seek answers that may never come. So, if these stories piqued your interest and you're eager for more, don't hesitate to subscribe to the Midnight Mysteries channel. Leave a like to support our work, and share this video with friends who love a good horror story. Every action you take helps us bring more disturbing and engaging content to you, our dedicated Shadow Explorer. And to ensure you don't miss any of our future investigations, activate the notification bell. After all, we never know when a new mystery might emerge from the shadows, ready to be unraveled by you and us. Now, get ready, because what comes next is as disturbing as the stories we've just told. Click on the next video that will appear on your screen and discover true scary stories. The Night of the Killer Storm, The Tragedy of Galveston, a narrative that promises to elevate the level of suspense and horror, keeping you on the edge of your seat until the very last second. Thank you for following Midnight Mysteries. Until our next exploration into the depths of the unknown, where every story is a puzzle and every puzzle a new opportunity to challenge the unknown.